Welcome back to another episode of That Gym Girl podcast, guys. Today I am joined by the extraordinary Hattie Boydle. How are you, Hattie?
Angel, I am both honored and excited to be here with you. So thank you for having me.
Oh, I'm just beyond honored and privileged to be sitting down with you, and the listeners, I'm sure, are very, very excited. I did slip this to a few friends and they were like, fuck. I was like, yeah, I know. It was just awesome to see that you have, made such an impact on the community within the gym that you can say your name and people are like, what? That's amazing. So that's really, really cool. How does that make you feel to start off with, knowing that?
Do you know what, Angel? I feel very, very blessed, very grateful, it is always and I said this in my part the other week, I said, I will never get tired of someone coming up to me and sharing maybe something that they've learned from me or something that they've enjoyed that I've shared. And it's like I hear it for the first time every time. I'm like, oh, I really am so surprised. And when I walk into a gym, I never expect people to know. When people do know me, I'm like, oh, it literally is such a, thanks, it's interesting. The other day I shared, a part of my story that not many people know. And it is like that I've been in this industry for 16 years.
Mm.
And I was a face-to-face trainer for 8 years. And I started out, waking up at 4 a.m. and using my mum's shopping trolley to put weights in and getting the bus in the morning to go train my friends. Like, there's so much of I realize, like, my beginning of my story that not many people know about, because we only see me as I am now, and we always want the big things now. And I think, God, that saying it takes 10 years to be an overnight success.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's taken me 16 years and it hasn't been overnight. I can assure you it's been 16 years. So I guess the reason I'm sharing that is for any listeners that are starting out, whether it's training or coaching, know that there is so much more to come. Yes, the beginning is the hardest. And if you compared yourself to where I am now, that would be so unfair and unrealistic and really unhelpful. But if you compared yourself to when I first started training, and I had very few qualifications, I had a shopping trolley with a couple of equipment in there, and I was training my golf, that would be a bit more of that's what she did, that's what I'm doing now, kind of like the beginning side, but not to where I am. But we use other people and we use what we see on social media as an inspiration, as a guide, as a blueprint. I always surround myself with people that are doing better than me or doing the things that I want to do, and I try and learn from them. Mm-hmm. So I'm motivated by them and I'm inspired by them, and I don't beat myself up that I'm not them or where they are. I look at to where I am in my journey and I ask myself, well, what are the skill sets that I need to take myself to the next level? So I'm sorry that I went down a rabbit hole. You asked me one question and I haven't shut up. I tend to do that. I apologize. But as we're on this amazing podcast around, women stepping into the gym, whether they're beginner, intermediate, advanced, we can often think, is it too late that I'm starting? A career change, or if some of you ladies that decide, oh, you know what, I don't want to be a cardio bunny, I want to weight train, and you see all these other people doing things, and then you go, oh, I'm not. It's like we use that as inspiration, to know what is humanly possible, but we get grounded in where we are now, and we work on what we need to do and where we need to be right now in order to layer the next step.
Yeah, and I love that for a few reasons, but the path I'm going to go down is the scrappiness of the start of your journey. And when I read that on your Instagram, I was like, because I don't mean this with any offense, when I look at you, I feel very calm, I feel very, structured and disciplined. And it's really interesting that you did have that scrappiness.
Oh, okay. I literally was on a call with my clients just earlier, and I said to them, I learned how to be organized through competing. And I've only just become really organized in the last year and a half. And it was, I've always been really lucky. I've had a lot of support. I've had a lot of people that want to do things for me, and that's great. But I didn't become resourceful. You know, I literally, wish we could go back in time. There's so many things that I would do differently, but I was so unorganized. I said yes to anything and everything. I didn't have a niche. I was scrappy. I was really just winging it. And that's great. I was an amateur at everything. But now I'm not, and we get the lessons that we need, and it's part of our journey. And hindsight, we can either call it a bastard or a great thing. I don't know. Depends how you want to look at it. But I'm grateful now because I'm very organized now, and I still get it wrong. But my God, I'm so much better than what I was when I first started. To have the expectation that we're going to be perfect, that we're going to get it right the first time, is probably a little unfair, and maybe not the way in which we should address things. But to put together a process that we can measure ourselves with, that's probably helpful. And back then, I wasn't process driven. I was results end driven, right? So I got the result, but all I got was the result. I didn't get what I learned the process. Whereas now, my goals, I learn in the journey of the goal. And I get to the end of the goal and I'm like, oh shit, I'm here? How did that happen? No, because I was so focused on the process, I forgot to prepare myself for when that thing would end.
Yeah.
Then I go, what do I want to keep from that goal? And most of the time, goals require discipline, devotion, willpower, resilience, sacrifice, effort of some sort. Cool. They're things that I want to continue to do, maybe not at the same intensity, but to just have a groundwork, a foundation. Right? So for girls that want to lose 5 kilos, it's not just losing 5 kilos. It's what do you learn in that process? Self-care, the discipline or devotion, whatever language that you want to use. I'm sure we'll touch on that today. And then what is it that you're going to continue to do? Because the things that got you that 5 kilos off are the things that are going to maintain it, right? So it's not about the result. That's the direction. That sets the direction. But it is the daily practices that we do that keep us there. And it's the same thing with business, and it's the same thing in relationship.
Yeah. And I love that this is a question I was actually going to ask you, because I read Atomic Habits ages ago, and somebody who I saw online said, it's a great book, by the way. Like, I'm sure you've read it like 4 times.
I recommend it. I've read it so many times and it gets me every time.
Yeah. Now let's talk about systems versus goals, because I feel like with that book, it was so system heavy that the goal was kind of not neglected, but put to the side for a second. And I think that, it's hard to find the balance between systems, but also I have this thing that I want to get. What's your approach to that? And as a beginner in the gym, should we just focus on the systems?
Systems support humans. And, in that book, it says we don't rise to the level we don't rise to the level of the occasion. We rise to the level of our practices or our systems. And I think we rise to the level of our nervous system, right? Which is another layer to that. And the reason I'm saying that is because goals require habitual changes, habits. And in order to sustain habits, you essentially need a process, right? And it's the small daily tasks that we repeat over and over and over again that move us from A to B to C to D and all the way to the end of Z, which is essentially the goal. And I think there needs to be a emphasis on both, and because the goal sets the direction, and we always work back from the goal. We don't work back from we don't start, like, you need 2 points, but you often work backwards from the goal. And I think that the thing about a process or systems is that it's measurable. The goal isn't always measurable.
Yeah.
It's the process that we measure ourselves in, right? Ticking things off. Is it too much? Is it not enough? Are we getting to where we want to go? Is it aligning with the end goal? And so you need both, because most people don't know what system to do when they don't have a direction. And so they get that feeling of loss. And so they're doing things and they don't know the intention of why they're doing things. And I think intention is everything. The intention of your goal, which essentially is your why, because your intention will set the tone and it will set the experience of your process and how you experience the process, really.
Yep.
Okay, so an example of that might be, let's say you go to the gym as a way of burning off calories. And in my eyes, that's punishment, because you don't need to burn off your food. I got into a taxi the other day and he's like, what kind of coffee do you drink? And I was like, a cappuccino with a sugar and extra chocolate. He goes, oh, you go in the gym to burn it off. And I was like, oh, I sat there and you bet my brain was like,
bite your tongue.
I'm like, yeah. Oh, like, but that's, I used to be like that. It was eat this, go burn it off. And so the intention behind the reason I'm going to the goal is not healthy. So my experience in the gym is not how do I be better? How do I outperform myself? The enjoyment, the inner cheerleader, it's not that. It's different. And so if I did that every single day, you bet I'm going to feel beat up. You bet I'm going to be like, oh, I'm going to the gym because like I'm not doing it for this thing of love. Whereas when you go to the gym because you're going for strength or to improve your fitness levels, you want to learn something, you want to move better, you want to improve your posture, you might want to lose 5 kilos, but the place of which losing 5 kilos comes from is because I actually just want to look and feel better. Like actually my quality of life externally and internally is going to be better because I'm looking after the way I eat. I'm managing my food intake. I'm probably reducing the amount of alcohol or processed foods I eat or how many times I go out. I want to be a good role model for my kids. My partner's making some habitual changes. I want to be supporting him. Maybe, I'm sick of feeling, crappy or tired, or, I want to look at myself and go, I'm achieving something every day. The beautiful thing about a process, it's self-care to such a big degree. A question I get asked all the time, Angel, is how do you stay so lean all year round? And
I saw this on your story.
It's like, when I say this, I'm not being like, oh, all high almighty about being lean. Like, I think it's just like, I can look this way because I'm very process driven, right? What I do every day is self-care. You bet going to the gym is self-care for me. You bet tracking my nutrition is self-care for me. It's not something that I feel ruled by. Like, it's flexible. And I still track when I overeat, and I don't go, oh, you're a bad person. I'm like, I don't even think anything of it. I'm like, oh, whoops. Like, it's just like, it's not even a thing.
Yeah.
But I do it because it gives me data, and I love data. And for me, it's like self-care. I know that I'm going to eat this amount of food. I can still have my chocolate. I eat all my veggies, I'm getting variety. And so I do things that support the body that I want to live in. Freedom requires a different type of discipline. When we look at freedom, you want freedom in money, you bet you've got to work for that. You want freedom in your mindset, you bet you need to train your mind. You want freedom in your body, you bet there's going to be a process for that, whether it's looking after your nutrition, getting to the gym, doing your steps in the morning, which requires you to get up at 5 a.m. before everyone else in your household so you can get it done. There's a cost to it. And the cost always has to be worth it, right? We're not just happy. If you tune in, Angel, and I'd love to know your opinion or your experience, is when were you most happy in your life? What were you doing? If you think of your happiest moments, when you were generally every day waking up feeling so happy.
It was just before I went to the UK, or maybe it was in the UK as well, but I was consistently training, and it was whilst I was overseas seeing my family on holidays, but I was actually still consistently lifting heavy, and it was me realizing, oh shit, I get to be like Hannah Montana and have the best of both worlds.
Okay. I was consistently training. When I was traveling and I was with my family and friends, I was still showing, what I heard from that is I was still showing up for myself. That's what I heard I was still able to train. I was still with my family and friends. Oh, I was Hannah Montana. I could have the best of both worlds. We can essentially have everything. Sometimes not at once, but we can have as much as we can.
Yeah.
But it requires prioritizing. When I hear people say, I don't have time, that's the wrong language. And that's an excuse that makes you feel good about that excuse. It is, oh, that's just not a priority for me. And that's also okay. Like, that's totally fine. I think as humans, we always label things and we want to put things in categories. That's good. That's bad.
Yeah.
And it's like probably not always helpful. Like sometimes I'm like, it's not bad. It's just what is.
Exactly.
And it gives it this neutral tone instead of being like, that's bad. That's bad. Oh no, that's good. That's bad.
And I think for me personally, that's actually come in tracking. So I'm a full-time uni student writing my thesis actually to do with weight gain. So I study pharmacy. I'm in my final year. And at the moment, tracking just isn't a priority for me. And I spoke to my coach and I said, look, it's actually feeling really heavy and it's feeling like a chore. And it's something I've removed literally within the last 3 weeks. And it's made a difference on my life. And I think the fact that I'm getting validation from you, and I think the listeners are getting validation as well, that it's got to be what works for your life right now.
I think that's such a beautiful share, Angel. And it's interesting because at times even self-care can feel like chores. Like, and it's when we just feel like we've got a lot going on. And sometimes, you know, stress is when we feel that there's too much happening and we're alone. Now, you're at uni studying your thesis, you're running a podcast, you're probably working and then you're training, and then you go and with that is and we're always going to cut out the thing that feels the heaviest. That we like, you can't. Uni probably feels heavy, but you're not cutting that out.
No.
Right? So that one stays. We keep that one there. But there's something else that you like, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Angel, but you're not uneducated.
No.
So, you know, a lot of people ask, you know, say that tracking is obsessive or it's unhealthy or whatever it is. That's your experience because that's how you experience it. And I think we have to learn to own our own shit instead of put it on others. Like when people say, I'm like, mate, I'm living my life. I'm so happy. I get to do everything that I want, essentially. And I get to live in my body and I love it. And like, it's a game for me. Whereas, you know, and then, you know, they intuitively eat, yet they can't lose weight. And they're miserable because X, Y, and Z. I'm eating healthy, but what do we know? It's not clean, it's not dirty, but also it's calories. And if you want to intuitively eat, I think it's a great thing to practice. But most people don't have autonomy in their hunger cues. Most people, and because we've got such delicious food, I love eating.
I love food. Oh my God.
Love it, honestly. That's why I have to track, because I will go above and beyond if I'm not.
No, I'm a broke uni student, Hattie. I don't have the money to go out for dinner, so don't worry.
Oh my God. It keeps me reined in, right? But I get to eat everything I want, but like controlled, right? But intuitively eating, one, you have to have good hunger cues. Mm. Two, you have to have some level of education around food. How much of what is in what? The beauty about a meal plan, and I'm not actually not big on meal plans, but it is a tool, right? Just like tracking is a tool. But it helps like realign people, give structure for unstructured people. So that's really, really good. It also teaches them that portion control, and it helps incorporate maybe foods that they wouldn't naturally eat on their own, like fruits and veggies. Yeah. But it doesn't educate you. Whereas tracking your nutrition and starting to put in the foods that you normally eat and going, oh, there's that much in there. And oh wow, oh shivers, I haven't had any fruit. You really get to learn about food, but you also go, well, if I change this for this, I can, and that's why it's like a piece of the puzzle. And in time, once you've done that for a period of time, because you've weighed your food so much, you know what 100 grams of protein looks like. Yeah. I was in Sydney last week. I didn't bring my body weight scales. I didn't bring my food scales. Now, I say that I track all year round, and I do. I still logged a guesstimate of my food in my MyFitnessPal. I didn't weigh my food once. I ate out with friends. I actually trained less than normal. I was really stressed out. Mm. I got home. I'm the same weight. Why? I can look at I've done this. This is not my first rodeo. I've been doing this for 17 years.
I can 18 shows.
18 shows. But I can look at food and be like, that's about 100 grams. That's about this. Yeah. I've learned and earned that skill. That's mastery. Could I have done that 17 years ago when I hadn't tracked food properly? Absolutely not. I would have undereaten significantly, right? So it's a tool that uses us for a springboard to later be able to intuitively eat. If that's what you want to do, that's totally fine. You might find you want to track forever. It might be a tool that you come in and out of. Like you said, you want to have a break, but I bet you know exactly what you can eat in a day, and you can stay pretty weight stable. If anything, you're going to maintain your weight.
Yeah, and it's just eating the same thing every single day. That's just how I am.
Yeah, but you're just not going to weigh it, and you're just not going to track it, and you like, it just takes that little bit of pressure off. And when you feel right, when you have a more external goal with a bit more pressure, or you're ready, or whatever it is, or you find yourself going a little bit sideways, which we all do, you're going to pull that. Cool. You know exactly what tool you're going to use.
Yeah, I love that. And I think the part of it that I think we're not chatting to overtly is the longevity of it. So I guess with the science background, and I know that you have a similar background in terms of education and value, is often I see we want the quick fix, we want it now, we want it now. And I love the fact that you touched on the vessel. Your body is a vessel, and it is something that you want to maintain forever. And I'd love for us to kind of go into your early stages. I haven't heard you go into it, and I know that you recently shared it. And if you're comfortable, I'm ready to go. So I know you said that you were in a pretty low place physically and mentally at the beginning of your journey. Firstly, why did you feel the need to share this on social media, and what were you trying to convey with your message opening up?
The most recent one? I was invited to speak at an event last week in Sydney, and it essentially was, there was actually 3 topics. It all changed, and so I thought, right, I can wrap this all up in my life story. Strength to weakness, weakness to strength, overcoming your demons, and the power of mindset. And everyone sees me as I am now. It's funny, as I tune into where I am in my life, I look back at what led me here. And I really don't think I would have been in the fitness industry without this really challenging time. In fact, so when I was in high school, a friend of mine died in a freak accident, and I suffered severe depression, and it spiraled into an eating disorder. And you know, it's really interesting. My intention. So when my friend passed away, I thought, oh my God, life can be taken away so quickly. I'm going to make the most out of it. So this original intention of I'm going to make the most out of it. And it's funny, when I experienced death as an adult, the same thing comes up, but the intention is different. It's more like, are you doing everything that you can to live in this life? What are you missing? What are you holding back from? What's the fear? Let's go. So death does something to me. But back then, I'd never experienced death. And so I didn't know how to handle it. And a part of it was like kind of scared, like, holy shit, I better, like, I'm going to be good at school. I'm going to get good grades. I'm going to go to uni. I'm going to look after myself. I'm going to exercise. I'm going to watch what I eat. I had no education. And not even around me was there education on what to eat. I got my information from diet magazines and you know, and some of that stuff was just absolutely absurd. And I spiraled out of control. I started to control everything. You know, I had a huge assessment in high school, and it was a speaking event. And I feel like this is where my fear of public speaking comes into play. But you know, I worked really hard for this assessment, and I failed. And I remember thinking to myself, I remember the exact moment, and it was, see, no matter what you do, you're just not good enough. And that just took me down this rabbit hole of a very dark place. And in a way of trying to deal with that, I tried to control everything. So I started to put all these rules on myself, right? These very, very harsh rules. I couldn't eat till I'd studied. I couldn't eat till I'd done my exercise. Essentially, I couldn't eat till I'd done all of these things. Now, the downfall of that, or the scary part of that, is I had to do more than what I'd done the day before. So I had to do more study, and I had to do more exercise, which meant that these windows of work, or these windows of extreme things to do, which, you know, more study, that's not bad, but the intention behind it was not healthy. And then the food got smaller, and then I, you know, spiraled out of control till I landed in hospital. And I essentially landed in hospital at 28 kilos, which is literally half than what I am now. And I just think, how, you know, but the mind, right, ladies, hear me loud and clear. Your mindset is the most powerful tool you will ever have, and your choices are important. The most powerful person in your life is you. Now, when people hear that, there's probably part of them goes, no, it's not. No, my partner is. No. Your partner doesn't set the tone of your choices, you do. Your partner isn't telling you what to do every microsecond of the day, you are. Your partner doesn't hear every single story, voice, word, name calling, you do. You are the one that controls all of that. And so I had to learn that. In fact, I learned that very quickly when I got into high school. I was like, how the fuck did I get here? Oh, that was me. Holy shit. My mindset, my relationship with myself. And I had this epiphany where it was like, you got yourself in, you're getting yourself out.
Yeah.
And if you channel that mindset to do something really great, holy shit, what are you going to achieve? And I'm so glad I had this like little voice, this little spark in me that was like, we're going to get you out. Like, we can do it, you know? And I remember being surrounded by other women who had been in there for 7 or 8 years of their life. I'd been in there for 7 months. And I was like, get me the fuck out of here. This is not how to live. Yeah. This is not living. Now, it's funny. We can still be trapped in our mind. We can still trap ourselves in our own minds. That's in our own limitations. That's in our own rules. You change the rules, you change the game. How many rules do you place on yourself that you wouldn't give anyone else, that you live by, that limit you to love and success within yourself? You have to change them. Change the rules, you change the game, right? Play the game in the way that's going to favor you with life. I started to think like an athlete. You bet that changed the rules, right? There was a freedom in that. It was like, if I'm going to be an athlete, I'm going to train like one, I'm going to eat like one, I'm going to sleep like one. It changed everything for me. But that took 6 years from being hospitalized, 6 years later, till I had to change that game, because I realized the game wasn't working. It was like 1 step forward, 2 steps back kind of thing, right? And so while I was physically healthy, mentally I wasn't. And it's all about your mindset, ladies. You can lose 5 kilos, but if you haven't worked on the person in here, it's never going to be enough. And you're not going to get the experience that you thought this 5 kilos was going to give you. It's not 5 kilos. It's the relationship in here. And the relationship, we have there's a huge connection to the relationship that we have with ourselves and the relationship that we have with food. Okay? Labeling things good and bad, really unhealthy. And I did that for many years. And it wasn't till, it really wasn't till 2013, where I started working with Lane Norton and Sebastian Oreb. And they really did change the game for me. I learned how to flexible diet, right? I learned how to eat 3 squares instead of a whole block of chocolate. Yeah. I learned things. I changed my mindset. Okay. And it was like this incredibly freeing experience. But I had to tune in to patterns and language that I used that I was like, okay, this is not helpful.
Yeah. That lands really heavy. And I think that from my experience so somebody in my life has been in a mental ward before or been hospitalized. And I think this is going to hit with you. I think it's the power of a tribe, or the power of the people you surround yourself with. And it wasn't me personally who was experiencing that, but as someone who was a part of her tribe, it was so profound to see how, and I completely agree, you are in control of your thoughts, and you're the person, well, not always, but mostly you are in control of your thoughts, and you're the one who can get shit done, basically. But in saying that, let's touch, before we have to let you go, on the power of your tribe and the tribe you're building now with your business.
So growing up, I was an elite gymnast. I trained 32 hours a week at the age of 12, before and after school. And I'm so grateful for that time, because I had a tribe. I trained with my best friends and I competed against my best friends, and not once was there ever a jealousy or a rivalry. It was camaraderie. And I'm so grateful for that time, because as an adult, when I stepped into the fitness game, I really didn't experience that same camaraderie. And I was like, why is everyone hating on each other? Like, I always say there's enough success to go around. I'm inspired by people that do better than me. Like Stephanie Ella, who is probably one of my biggest competitions. She's a 5-time world champion. She's the one that took the crown from me. I don't hate her. I'm inspired by her. She's got 5 world titles. Go, sister. Like, I can only praise and acknowledge that. I think good for you. The pressure to show up like that every year, that is incredible. And when I was competing, and even just like, I thought, if I don't have a community, I'm going to create one. And I wanted to emulate what I had at gymnastics. I wanted my girls to train together and compete against each other. So at one point, I had 120 girls in the PCYC in Sydney, and they would come in, and you bet they would rip it. Like the 5:45 a.m. class, those girls would just come in and get it done. And it was so awesome, like high-fiving each other, spotting each other, getting it done. And then they compete against each other on stage. And the thing that I learned from being a gymnast is, as an individual, I would do my best. And as individuals, we would do our best. And then together we would be the best team. And that's what we wanted. Of course, we wanted to win ourselves. But we knew that together as a collective, we wanted to be the best team out there. And I wanted to do that with the Sports Water Project. Now it's all online, and we do a lot of group calls. All the calls are only group calls, so that the girls can get to meet each other and connect and support one another. And it is a space where the girls get to show off. I'm always like, all right, girls, who's got some PBs they want to share? Like, come on, let's show off together. We can support each other. We can hold each other in hard times, right? It is in our biological needs to be a part of a tribe. This is what was so hard about COVID, is that it wasn't just we couldn't see people. It was we didn't get human touch. It was the isolation, right? But there was a part that still kept people together in a way that was like, we're all in, like, the beautiful thing was like, it was a global thing. Yeah. The world came together as a community, and that is a thing that kept people alive. So it is so important to be a part of some sort of community, to have to have friends that you feel safe with, that you can connect to. And you don't need a lot of them, but just surround yourself with good people. The internet, we can have community on the internet. Like, that's what I have. It's an online business, but it is so important what you engage in. Yeah. Right. So you want to feed things that empower you, that help you make the right decisions, that challenge you in healthy ways. Okay. Thought-provoking. They help you ask your own questions, and they help you make better decisions. Right. So you can still be a part of an environment or in a community, even if it's not in person. But it is so important for mental health, and it is so important for emotional regulation, to be a part of something, to be seen, to be heard, to feel a sense of, what's the word? Relatability. Yeah. Okay. We get that a little bit more on the internet now, where women, I'm going to speak to women more on this, is like they share, hard times, or that they're not perfect, right? Because the internet always goes really far down one way, where it's like all perfect models and blah, 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 blah. And people go, oh, I want to be like that. And then they go, oh, I don't look like that. And then it creates a really unhealthy turmoil or relationship with ourselves. Because ladies, like, what you see on the internet, like 99% is not real. Like, it is crazy and it's sad, but as long as you know it's not real, it can't hurt you. Yeah. That's, I put something, I sent something to my partner the other day. It was this girl that she put up like some of the filters that she'd been using. And I was just like, and even some of my girlfriends use filters. I'm like, why are you doing that?
It
But
does.
anyway, everyone can do their own thing.
Yeah.
I'm not judging. Everyone can do their own thing as long as it's not hurting you.
Yeah, and it says a lot about, you know, what they're dealing with and their internal that they're working through. And I think it's important as consumers, we have to practice discernment and practice responsibility for how we consume what we're seeing.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Everyone is responsible. Like, as long as you are radically responsible for your own decisions, this is what we teach in the Sports Bottle Project: radical self-leadership and radical responsibility. Whatever you choose to do with that, up to you.
Yeah.
I just know for myself, I would just think I was lying to people, and I just can't do that.
Yeah.
I just don't have that in me. So,
but that's why people trust you, and that's the difference.
Yeah. I think, like, you know, relatability is a really big thing for me. I've never been inspired by this perfect image. I'm so far from perfect. Girls, I make a mistake every day. Nothing I've ever done is perfect. And I laugh about that. But I reach for perfection knowing I'm never going to reach it.
Yeah.
And I know that that's good enough. You bet that's good enough. But yeah, it's just, even on social media, like, I'll go and I'll like a nice photo, but I don't follow these people. I don't follow like these accounts with like these perfect images. I'll like it here and there. But actually what I'm interested in is people sharing really deep shit, you know, or seeing someone try and overcome. And that to me is like, oh, this is the social media that I want to see.
Yeah.
People trying, people doing hard things. People, you know, people that are better than me or more successful than me. That's what I want to be hearing. I want to be a part of that, rather than just an image that I know isn't even real.
I love that. And you're in control of the people you follow. And I fucking love that.
Totally. Oh my God. Have you ever done a cleanse on your social media? It feels so good unfollowing people.
You know I have. Oh, yes.
Oh, so
best
good.
thing ever. Well, that kind of comes to the conclusion of today. I just want to thank you so much for your time, and the way you articulate yourself is just so impactful, and I really appreciate that. And if anybody who's listening wants to find more of Hattie, please look in the socials below, and you've got your Facebook group. Hey, I'll pop that below. Yeah.
Yes, we do amazing content in there every week. It's all free. There's no expectation of you. It's just that hopefully you show up to the calls, you know, and you listen to them and you take that information and you do whatever you want with it. Right. So something that we teach in the Sports Model Project is self-practice learning, which means that we are teaching you how to be resourceful. So the mission of the Sports Model Project is to create a world of resourceful women, powerfully supporting one another. And the reason we teach you to be resourceful is because we want you to be independent and empowered and educated and have your own tools and resources. And you just ask for help when you need it. Yeah. Right. I've been in this game for 16 years. I still have mentors and coaches. I will never not have a mentor or a coach. And I'm well educated and I have a lot of tools, but it's nice to have a guidance. And it's nice to have a space when we do feel challenged. Like something you named to your coach was like, oh, I need to name this thing's feeling a little bit overwhelming. And you bet they said, that's okay, that's soothing. And they worked with you on it. They didn't say, oh my God, Angel, you're a bad girl. I can't. That's not what coaching is.
Yeah.
If your coach is doing that to you, I would look at jumping ship. It's always, coaching is communication, and it is sender receiver, and it is, do we have an agreement? Yes, there is alignment. Yes, I'm going to go do this thing. And if it's not perfect, we're going to problem solve together on how we can make it better. Right. So for anyone here that's starting off for the first time with training, I highly recommend you get a trainer. Look for a good one, right? Watch how they are on the gym floor. Are they on their phone? Are they engaged with their client? How much do they interact with their client on the gym floor? Like, how much do they use touch and not in a creepy way? How engaged are they in their client? Like, do you see them training with their program? Go up to the client and say, hey, you know, what's your coach like? Get some information, but I do highly recommend, if you're new to training, get a PT. One of the best things you'll ever do. You know, you don't have to do it for life. It might cost you a little bit now, but it's going to save you in the long term, right? Or if you're someone that's chasing your tail all the time, or you find yourself not being able to push past certain barriers in your results, get a coach. It's not forever. You might only do it for 12 weeks. You might do it for 6 months, but you will learn so much. Don't ever think of how much it's costing you. Think of the value it's going to deliver to you. And then you show up for the value, right? Because paying is one thing. Doing what's required is another. So I hope that's okay that I added that in there. I'm just such a huge fan of coaching and getting trained and getting educated. And there are so many great platforms out there. There's so many different, you can still get great information. I'm going to use my girlfriend's platform as an easy example. Rachel Dillon, Move With Us.
Oh, yeah.
She's got so much great content available, and she's on the lower cost side from what I know. And then you have the high. It's whatever you want, but there's something out there for everyone. So don't think that you have to do it on your own. There's so much we can learn. Even if you're an intermediate, there's still so much you can learn. Even if you're advanced, there's still so much you can learn. So I hope that's okay that I shared that at the end.
No, of course. Oh my goodness. I love the fact that you preach learning and education so highly and so much. And it's something I want to continue doing. So just thank you so much for putting that in there.
Easy.
Amazing. Thank you for coming on. I really appreciate your time. Have a fabulous day.
Thanks, Angel.